Hello, y'all. Happy Thoughtful Thursday. Today is an interesting day because I had a lot of random setbacks today that, sometimes you have those days where like stuff keeps happening one after another and it's a big pain in the butt and it's like, it almost feels like the universe is conspiring against you. You know it's probably not, but you just gotta keep dealing with one thing after another and you like, like what's going on? Why is this like continuing to happen this way? So I thought it would be a perfect day to go over three big steps or three big mental shifts that helped me kind of get through days like this and setbacks in real world, in real time. Um, Obviously, everything's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Even when you're building wealth and you're like financially stable and comfortable, there's still going to always be some life stuff that comes up. So I feel like this is good all around things that I found useful both for financial or just life in general. So first thing is going to be look at the timeline of your life. So if you look at the life expectancy of the average person I looked up the United States. You can look up for whatever region or area that you're from or whatever country. But if you're in the United States, the most recent average lifespan that I looked up, it was 75 years. It was like 74.6 or 7, something you can round up. So average was 75 years, which is actually kind of low. I believe it used to be like 80 something. So A, that's not a good sign. But B, 75 years is still a pretty decent amount of time. So looking at your life and where you are now, I remember the first time I learned this lesson and I used it was actually in college. I was stressed the freak out because I had a paper due. I had so many, honestly, I was in that part of college where I had a lot of classes and was getting kind of overwhelmed. A lot of projects, papers, assignments, whatever due. And I needed to stay up all night to finish it. And I remember like crying to a professor one day because I couldn't finish in time. And I was such a goody that I was like, I had been turning in everything on time until that point. So I thought it was the end of the world that I couldn't turn in my paper on time. And it's just the magnitude of what I was feeling in that moment did not match like throughout my life. Looking back at it now, obviously I can laugh at it and be like, oh, silly, but like it's just a paper, you're fine, like you were. And even like his reaction told me it's not that serious. He was like, oh yeah, sure, you can, yeah, just like give it to me. I'm sure he had so many students doing so much worse, turning in things so much later, and I obviously really genuinely wanted to, but I was just being really hard on myself because I had never turned in anything late. And so I personally mentally thought that it was unacceptable to be late turning in an assignment. And so obviously the professor would think that too. Like, what? Why wouldn't he think it's unacceptable and I would get in so much trouble? Like, I had been doing all this stuff on time. So I had to sit and reflect. And I don't know how, if I saw this somewhere, if it just came to me. I honestly can't remember because college was like a decade ago at least. Um, but yeah, I just sat and I was like, wait a minute. Okay, right now I'm like, however old I was, like, I don't know, maybe 19, 20 or something like that. And I was like, I have had X amount of years, 19, 18, 19, whatever years to this point. And then I still have another, I plan on personally, I don't even care about the life expectancy. I plan on living to like 120. But I was like, I have at least probably till like my 80s as long as I don't get an accident or something. And I was like, that's like 60, another 60 something plus more years. And I'm here in this one little tiny moment, worried about this paper, worried about these assignments, and freaking out. And I'm like, wait, I have the whole, and when I put that little dot, I think I actually drew a line. This is a good visual. If you're a visual learner, draw yourself, get a piece of paper, draw yourself a line, put the beginning of your life, and then put however many years you think you're gonna just put the average lifespan. I don't want none of this, oh, I only think I'm going to live till 40 because, like, don't do that. Give yourself an actual full lifespan. And then just mark the things, the big major things that happened in your life that were, like the big major negative things that were stressful. So for me, college was very stressful. Maybe like death of a loved one, a parent or something like that. I can put the death of my grandfather on there. But yeah, when I did that, especially with college, I was like, this is such a tiny, tiny, tiny blip. Like, not even a slice out of my life, literally a blip on the time that I'm going to have in this world, as long as I don't have a crazy premature death. This is such a tiny blip, and it just completely shifted my whole way of thinking to look at it in the grand scheme of things, in the scale. I even planned out, I was like, when do I want to get married? When do I want to have kids? Like, what chunk of time? And each one was like a few years. Each section of my life was a few years long. So I put like, what's my childhood? Like 0 to 10, 10 years childhood, then like teenagers, 10 to 20. I mean, 11 to, well, like preteen, maybe do like the first 3 years for preteen, then teenager. And I just sectioned out each section of my life. And I was like, this is one part of one section of my life. Like, even if you just make each section of your life maybe like 5 to 10 years long, there is rarely going to be something that's going to take up even an entire section of your life. Like, yes, parenting stuff for probably the first 20 something years, but other than that, everything kind of goes in like little chunks, and you'll have like your specific challenges in each chunk to get through, depending on how fortunate you are. But either way, you're going to get, like, none of that stuff usually lasts for your entire life. Especially if you're living in the United States, it's very unlikely that any of that stuff is going to last for your entire life, let alone outside of that blip of where you're stressed out about it now, or out of that whole section. So that was one of the first things, was like actually visualizing the timeline of my life and the scale of this thing that I'm freaking out about and the grand scheme of my entire lifespan. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not that serious. And I also realized I'm still gonna pass this class, even if I do bad on this assignment. That was the other thing. I was putting so much emphasis on doing well on this assignment because I was too much of a perfectionist. And you know what happened? I don't even know what the heck grades I got in school anymore. Like, all those A's and all those great grades that I got in grades, elementary school, middle school, high school, I got really good grades for most of it, and guess who cares about it now? Nobody. Not even me. I don't care either. Like, nobody cares about that stuff. Same thing for college. As long as you get the degree, does anybody ask you, oh, you got a degree? Oh, what was your GPA? What kind of grades did you... Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about any of that. And nobody ever asks about it. Even employers. I was like, why do we put so much emphasis on grades to begin with? Like, yeah, they're good in the moment, but we definitely need to step back and recognize that it does not matter in the in the grand scheme of things. So, all right, so that's number one. I spent a long time on that one. I'll try to make the other ones a little bit quicker. All right, the next one, does anybody have it worse than you? So, they say how bad it is for your mental health to compare yourself to other people, but I'm going to slight disagree on that. I think it's bad to always be comparing yourself to people who are doing what you consider better than you, because you're like kind of setting yourself up for failure when you're constantly comparing upwards. I mean, for some people that's motivating. For some people that might push you to, you know, emulate them, and like, you know, like it's good to be around people that are doing better than you because it will raise you up, but you shouldn't be like negatively comparing yourself if you're not where somebody else is at. But I will say, on the other hand, end of things, comparing yourself to people that are maybe not doing as well as you is actually, I feel like it can be very useful, and it can kind of make you see where you are actually really blessed and you are actually very fortunate to be where you're at, because there's people that don't even have, there's people that would kill, there's literally anywhere in the world at a given moment, there's people that would kill to be where you are. Like where I am, even just having something to watch a YouTube video on, there's so many people in the world that don't have anything to even watch YouTube on if they wanted to. There's a lot of people that probably don't even care. And I honestly, I kind of envy them if they don't even, like, you know, they haven't gotten into, sucked in all the technological social media stuff. And they're just living their life, you know, wild and free. That's great too. But there's people that would love to be able to be in I'm in a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment in Los Angeles and making money off of it. And I'm like, that's not, when I think about it that way, I'm like, I don't know how many people in LA, like, of course, there's a lot of people in LA that are doing well, but there's a ton of people in LA that are not doing this well. They either got 50-11 roommates, and they're still struggling. Like, most people are paycheck to paycheck. Most people are complaining about the gas prices over here. I have an electric vehicle. Therefore, I have no gas prices to worry about. So there's so many, when I step back and look at so many things that people complain about in their life that I don't have to deal with and is like not a complaint for me, I'm like, oh, damn, Yvette, like, stop complaining. Like, there's literally people that would love to be where you are, and it just makes me remember to be grateful and remember to appreciate all that I have, and not take myself for granted of like the things that I have worked through and the progress that I've made. Of course, I want to still continue to keep moving forward, but you always want to keep a balance of the, looking forward to being better, but also remembering where you came from. So look to others, like in a place of humility. Look at those that are doing less, that are like not as fortunate as you. There's people like living in abusive situations. There's people in jail. That's a whole nother topic. There's people that have like all kinds of mental health things going on that are like undiagnosed, untreated, and they don't even know what the freak is going on. I didn't know that I had ADHD till this year. So, and that was very helpful to find out. And there's people that have many more, where ADHD isn't even all, honestly, it's not even all that bad when you look at some of the other things. It's like, I just have to learn how to work with it. But other than that, it's honestly not that bad. Out of all the things I could have had, I would have picked that one, probably. So yeah, that is, does anybody have it worse than you? With nuance. Don't be like downing people and judging people, but like, just be grateful that you're probably doing considerably well if you look at enough people in the world. All right, the last one, number 3, is don't take things personally. This was a big one. I'm still working on this one to this day. Honestly, I'm still, like, all of these are lifelong helpful things, but you just kind of get, once your mind starts working that way, thinking along these lines, it gets like easier with time. But taking things personally is, for me, that was one of the hardest ones, taking things personally. So for example, like I said, today I was having kind of a really annoying day where, so like I said, I have an electric car, so usually it's really convenient to not have to buy gas. But charging, we have to charge, we have to find somewhere to plug in. My apartment does not have a charger or any place for me to charge in my building, so I cannot charge at home. I used to have a charger at my job, and that was going great for years, literally years. It was fine, and then they disconnected it, and I was like, oh damn, what am I gonna do now? Like, I don't have a charger at work. What? You're expecting these things to just be around forever, but stuff changes. And so now I find myself, for the past however long, I have to like have these designated charging spaces where I normally go to charge my car. So there's a park nearby me, thankfully, that's only maybe like 2 or 3 miles away, that has free charging. The caveat is, if there's only 2 chargers at this point, there used to be 4. And so we started off with 4 and it was pretty reasonable. We went down to 2. Now you have to kind of like hope for the best when you go over there that somebody else doesn't need it, because there's actually a lot of us that have opted for electric vehicles now, and so getting into get a charger is kind of a little roulette. Like, you sometimes it's not uncommon for you to just have to wait for other people to finish charging and just allow an extra hour or 2 to wait. Usually not 2 hours. Sometimes I allow like up to an hour to wait for other people. And then you can have, so I was really fortunate, on my street they installed a pay charger like a little bit farther down my street at the end of the block. So if I can't use the free charger at the park, I can just go down my street and plug in and like, use my card, and I have like a little account that I pay to charge. And of course, it's not as ideal because it's not free anymore. But the price to charge is usually only like $2 or $3. Especially my car, since I have a small electric car, it's usually around maybe $3. If I'm like really need a lot of juice, $5. So I can't even complain too much about that. Like, yes, it's like less convenient than the park. Yes, it's less convenient than having a place every day to automatically go to. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm still saving hundreds and probably thousands of dollars on gas. And yeah, it's just like, it's not that bad even. I'm like, when I have to do it, it's like, it's kind of annoying, but it's whatever. So I've like gotten used to having to kind of find where to charge. But then you have a day like today where not only did I go to the park, they had closed the parking lot where the chargers are, so I couldn't charge. They said they were going to reopen in an hour and a half. So I came back home, took a nap, went back an hour and a half later. Both the chargers were taken already. And I was like, I just made a whole nother trip for nothing. So then I come home to do my backup charger that I have to pay for. And they're all offline. All the chargers of that brand are offline in LA for 3 hours for maintenance. And I was like, of all the freaking days. And I have to go to work soon. And I have not been able to charge my car all day despite 3 attempts, and it would never ever be this challenging any other, like, I wouldn't say never ever, but it's extremely rare to go to the same charger twice and both times not be able to charge, and then go to your backup charger and you can't even use that one either. So now I'm on like option 4, which is like, I'm just gonna really hope that I can make it to work and back and be okay, or like find an emergency place to charge over near my job, which there is one kind of over there, which is, so I might have to stay out later tonight to like be able to charge enough to get back home. But I'm like, as annoying and sucky as that is, I'm like, at the end of the day, Yvette, it's one day where you can't be on your normal schedule to get that done. And you know you're going to be okay regardless. It's like, despite all those things that happen, that is just like, ugh, why? What's going on, universe? Even going all the way to plan D. I mean, I honestly have plan D, E, F. I have like there's a client that I have nearby me that also has an electric vehicle, and she'll let me use her charger. But she hasn't answered her text messages, so I'm not going over there. But yeah, so actually, I am on plan E now at this point. That was plan A, B, C, and D. None of them work. So sometimes you got to be prepared to have the whole alphabet planned out and not take it personally when stuff is going wrong. Like that, none of that stuff had anything to do with me. Like, I did what I was supposed to do. I got up on time. I had plenty of time today. It just didn't work out. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, sometimes life just be lifing, and it's not always going to go your way. I feel like most of the time it does go my way. So it's like, when I have this occasional situation where it's not going my way, it's like, oh, I guess it was due. It was just like time for me to have a little bit of a rough patch, because I'm like, oh, if things are going too well all the time, I feel like there's a yin and yang. Life has a way of balancing things out. So you will have some hardships. And I'm like, out of all the hardships, not being able to charge my car and being a little stressed about that is very minor. Like I said, when you look at the grand scheme of things, most of the stuff that you deal with is pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. Of course, you have your major issues as well. But I would say on average, day to day, looking at everybody else that's going on in the world, there's people that are in places that are in war, that are in genocide. If you feel safe in your life at all, you are winning. Like, if you feel safe and you have shelter and you have food, just like the basic bare minimum things. I mean, if you don't have any of that, then you probably would not be watching this video. So yeah, that's it for today. Today's Thoughtful Thursday. Just 3 major things that help me deal with setbacks in life. Please like, subscribe, comment if you have any other things to share, any little hacks that help you get through setbacks in your life. And until next time, peace out. Let's get that wealth.